What if I tell you that Raya and the Last Dragon, Moana, both Frozen movies, and even Encanto are essentially the same movie? In other words, they all follow the same formula regarding plot, characters, and even, on some levels, their themes. Let me explain. Ingredient number 1. All stories must have a protagonist. Disney started this formula with a very important element. They wanted their audience to empathize with these protagonists without feeling compelled to think they need magical powers to feel special. Considering the young age of their demographics, this wouldn't be a bad idea, but this would become the new stereotype in Disney for almost a decade. Here comes a protagonist that doesn't possess any magical abilities. We have Anna, completely normal, quirky, and without any kind of magical abilities. The same goes for Raya, Mirabel, and Moana. And to talk about chronological order of these movies, Encanto was the latest one, so it fully embraced how normal of a protagonist Mirabel is. It essentially became an important theme through Mirabel's story. This kind of protagonist allows their young audience to feel as normal as possible when they're playing their favorite characters. It also makes our main character go through a series of challenges that must be overcome by their normal abilities. But these characters would almost always fit into the archetype of the hero or the warrior in a way, because they are very achievement oriented. These protagonists meet the expectations that people were asking of Disney. They also represented various races, addressing the diversity problem people pointed out. Or so thought Disney. The second ingredient to making a giant blockbuster would be the magical secondary character. Of course, it's Disney, and it wanted to maintain the magic in its work. What it does is make a secondary character kind of like the second protagonist of the story. This character creates magical solutions for the crisis that happens in a magically involved plot. This secondary character has magic not only to emphasize themes but also to give the plot a better push forward. And whenever things are too extreme, they're going to help and solve everything in a matter of seconds. Problems that the main protagonist might not be able to solve if they don't possess any magical powers of their own. These secondary characters are Maui, Elsa, Sisu, and Bruno. In the case of Mirabel, all the other characters possess magical abilities, but Bruno is very distinct because almost half of the movie is intertwined with his powers and the things that he will or has predicted. All of these secondary characters would also fit into the clown archetype as well as the magician archetype, obviously since they have magical powers that will help the character in the story. Of course, we're not done with characters, there's another element, the tiny cute side character for more comedic relief. Characters like the lizard in Frozen 2, Olaf in both of the Frozen movies, the toucan in Encanto, Tuk Tuk in Raya and the Last Dragon, and Hey Hey in Moana. I mean, just take a second to think about their names. These characters might randomly show our protagonist the way in the story once in a while or serves as a vehicle to help them on their journey. These stories might have more than one such character. For example, we have Sven in Frozen or Sisu's dragon form, which by the way comes in handy later for Disney when they want to sell cute stuffed animals. The monkeys from Raya and the Last Dragon or the mice from Bruno's house inside the wall also can work as those side characters. Ingredient number 4. The antagonistic force. Some kind of magical force is destroying nature or putting it in danger, or in the case of Encanto, their house. This force must be stopped, but it usually reaches the highest levels of destruction before our protagonist, with the help of the other characters, defeats it. This force is the source of plot movement in the story. The character starts their journey trying to overcome it. For Frozen, we have Elsa's power, Moana is fighting Ka, Mirabel is fighting to find the reason behind the cracks in the house, Raya has the drone, and in Frozen 2 we have the dam, which is preventing the magic from thriving in the lands. Although the story of Frozen 2 doesn't start with the notion that this power is destroying everything, it eventually comes down to that, before Anna destroys the dam. Now we have all the character ingredients and we can move forward to plotting. Plot ingredient number 1, the setup. This part of the story consists of at least one expositional flashback to throw everything you need to know in your face, because who needs organic expositions anymore? I think Frozen might have the best one here, because instead of giving us a flashback, it goes through a few time jumps to get through the setup and character introduction. And I know expositional beginnings are kind of Disney's tradition, but the expositions that were given, especially in Disney's golden era, silver era, and even the Renaissance era, were way more personal and related to the main character and not telling a broad story about an entire land, kind of like what Frozen was trying to do. But the other movies just follow the same formula. Let's just get rid of all the exposition before we even introduce our main character and story. The antagonistic force seems calm now. Everything has been in control for a few years. Elsa has had her gloves, the heart is taking care of the dragon gem, and the Droon is gone. Moana's people are minding their own business on their island, and the Madrigal family doesn't talk about Bruno. But disaster number one, which isn't that big, is going to hit us. The house is starting to show cracks. Elsa is going to freeze everywhere. The Droon is going to show itself again, and Moana's island will start to perish. This calls our hero to go on a journey either inside the unknown places of the house or their land, and this journey usually leads to finding our secondary character. Act 2, the journey. Anna's journey is to find Elsa and talk to her. The same goes for Moana and Maui, Mirabel and Bruno, and Raya and Sisu. The secondary character will be one of the keys to fighting the nature problem at the end. But for now, we need more story, so we're going to need side quests before we eventually save everyone and everything and kill the final boss. In this section, we'll focus on finding a specific object or pieces of it or a group of people. After going through 2 or 3 subplots like Elsa fighting the soldiers or Moana fighting the little pirates, we're going to get to the climax of the movie, Act 3 and the climax. This is where our antagonistic force is at its peak. Everyone and everything is in danger. The Droon has taken everyone. Taka is resisting Moana and Maui to reach to Te Fiti. Everything in Arendelle is frozen, including Anna, because her heart has been corrupted by Elsa's magic. Or Elsa's frozen and Anna is dying while Olaf is also gone in both movies. The house is broken to pieces. It's interesting how Disney continuously pushes the climax levels to external extremes. Yes, these climaxes all have internal realization as well, but movies can also reach climax in a calm external level. Now, we have to turn to some internal antagonism for things to get fixed. Although Elsa isn't the bad guy in Frozen, she isn't technically the good guy either, and her powers actually work as an antagonistic force, which is connected to her. At the end, it is Elsa who brings Anna back to life. She fights back and fixes these antagonistic force, making it something to help people in later short movies. For Moana, it's Takada's hiding Te Fiti underneath the surface, and Moana takes a big risk placing the heart in Taka's, but this process will lead to Te Fiti's rebirth and eventually will help everyone. Raya puts her trust in Namaari and actually becomes a statue, just like Anna. Mirabel puts her trust in her grandmother, who was kind of the antagonist in her story, and the love is echoed back to her, eventually giving her the doorknob, which fixes the house, showing the theme, which is the miracles were family members themselves. And everything is fixed through the magic of love. Don't you dare say Raya trusted Namaari and there was nothing else, because for me the sparks and the chemistry were clear as the day, and even if you want to ignore that, I'll make the argument that Raya's love for her father made her trust Namaari. Now, the characters have grown. Apparently, so as Sisu wanted, they can live in peace since everything has been restored. All these plots lead to the theme, which is family above all, or you should trust strangers with magical abilities because the plot wants you to. But in all seriousness, I still enjoy Disney, though at this point I believe it's become a guilty pleasure, and I have to say, I watched all of these way too much before realizing these patterns, so that's all I have for today, and see you next time.